immersion is a target for most people who are developing a game or creating a story. At the end of the day, it's a target for novelists, musicians, game developers, you name it. Anyone who's trying to craft a world or craft a story needs to achieve immersion of the third party, of the audience. It can, of course, enhance the experience of the audience. In that case, a lot of writers and a lot of developers will go to extreme lengths in order to achieve immersion, because at the end of the day, when the character or the player is fully immersed in the character and in the character story, be it a character they've crafted themselves or a character that they have been thrown into their world, then that essentially blocks out all interference from reality, which, of course, although enhancing the gameplay experience, at the same time it's very, very dangerous, because if that's it's what gives rise to ultimately the news stories you see of people dying at their keyboards, or people who do become addicted, because eventually the story of the character and immersion within the game becomes at such a state that their life in the game is better than their life in reality. That's what makes it very dangerous. It is a very powerful tool, and it's essentially what every single writer seeks to do. It seeks to create a universe or create a character that the reader can fully immerse themselves in and go for an experience that they can't have in the real world. But when the audience or the person playing the game achieves immersion to such a level that they start comparing their real life to the life in the game and finding that the game is better, and therefore it triggers a response where they think, I don't want to live this life anymore, I want to stay in the game because the game is better, the game is who I want to be, I can't realise these goals outside of this digital world or this literary world. So it's a double-edged sword. There are a lot of pieces of technology and psychological tools that writers and people who are crafting the mechanics of the game will use in order to get a person fully immersed, such as the random reward system within an MMO. It's a bit of a cliche of the whole people addicted to MMOs, people addicted to living in World of Warcraft, but at the end of the day, the research shows that the whole random reward system, when it comes to a character or a player going into a game and getting a reward, and then those rewards being graded randomly and released randomly, it allows for that window of the player going, well, I can essentially keep at this and keep getting a wide variety of rewards. Some of them that obviously won't be that useful, and some of them will be useful in the perception of the player. At the end of the day, those are the game mechanics and the tools that do that to the player. The player will succumb to this sort of state where the rewards that they want and what they get in the game, they essentially go to the game, and not just sort of as an escapism, which is essentially the same as, you know, someone watching a soap or someone watching a television program. At the end of the day, if someone looks at these rewards and thinks, these are great, I want to keep getting these, or I want to keep getting similar things, they're going to keep coming back to the game, and that's how the game mechanics work with the human mind, to get the person hooked on the game and to get them fully, not necessarily immersed. At the same time, it is going off topic a wee bit, but that sort of hook and that sort of little temptation almost for the player to go back leads them to get further immersed in the game, and leads them to get essentially hooked. At the same time, there are a lot more subtle things. The thing is about immersion that you don't notice that it's happening. You notice when it's broken, but you don't notice when it's happening. Tiny things like if you're in Skyrim and you open a note, the note's on papyrus scroll, it's written in old handwriting, the paper's wrinkled, maybe burnt at some corners. If that was just like a plain text file or a Word document, your immersion is broken. You immediately notice that this doesn't fit with the theme of the game, but you don't notice that the letter that you've picked up is part of the game. It's a theme, or it's thematically correct to the game. It fits in with that universe that the writers created. It's the same thing with the likes of Mass Effect. You pick up a data pad. It's essentially a tablet, futuristic tablet. Again, if that was a piece of paper, something scrawled on a piece of paper, or a Word document, it breaks your immersion. You notice it. Your enjoyment of the game is diminished slightly, but those are just some of the more subtle things that contribute to immersion. It's a very exact science, and it works very well in getting a player immersed and getting a player submerged within the world of the game, and it does contribute to their enjoyment and their love of the game. It's just it can be a double-edged sword, and it's a tool and a state that most developers and most gamers need to be aware of.